You're listening to another great podcast in the MyMac Podcasting Network.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the show where we take a wander around the week in Apple news, reviews, technology, associated products, and all sorts of other things that catch our eye. This is another episode of the Essential Apple Podcast. Hello everybody, welcome to this week's episode. And this week I am joined once again by Donny Yankelo. Hello Donny.
Hello.
Hello. Right. Well, this week we've got quite a lot of stories this week. Not all of them add up to very much, I must admit. There's a lot of rumbling still about the Bloomberg story. So I think we'll just pitch in, shall we? Let's just pitch in at the top and see where we go. So I'll start off, of course. I didn't mention it last week. I should have done, really. But, of course, Apple donated $1 million to the tsunami relief in Indonesia. And this week, they are going to donate to the Hurricane Michael relief efforts. And, by the way, so are Google. Google are chucking in $1 million as well. So that's good. That's good news, especially if you're affected by any of those, I'm sure.
Unfortunately, they've been donating a lot this year.
Yes, there's been a lot. And this week as well, Hurricane Michael wasn't the only one. A storm has battered Portugal, causing loss of life and, ripping up trees and bringing down power lines and so on. Wales and the west of the UK have been battered by a storm, which has led to 3 deaths in Wales, I believe, sadly. So, yeah, it's not been a great year, has it, this year for hurricanes? Or it's a great year if you are a hurricane, maybe. I don't know. There we go. There. Well, what's the first real big story? I think the first story, Donny, is Mac shipments fell 11% in Q3. As customers await updates to an aging lineup, according to IDC. And this was on 9 to 5 Mac. I think I probably agree with this, to be honest.
It happens every time there's a new iPhone expected, and
well, yeah, there is that. But I mean, for quite a long time now, pretty much every quarter for, I don't know, several years, the industry reports have always been, the PC market is stagnant or declining, and Macs are still growing. But this quarter, apparently the PC market has had a bit of an upturn, but Apple has had a downturn of 11.6% year on year. Well, I think they're right about this, really. I really do think that the main cause is the fact that a lot of the Mac range is quite old. I mean, the iMac, I think that was last update. I mean, I hadn't been updated for ages, about 2.5 years, and when they released the 2017 one, which is when I got my boss to buy one, but I mean that's not been updated since. The iMac Pro is nearly a year old. That's had no updates, and we don't even want to talk about the Mini, do we? I mean that's and then we're still waiting for a Pro. The Air, I mean the MacBook Airs are hanging in there, but I mean they're effectively really old. I know the MacBook Pros got updated, or at least the Touch Bar ones did, but the MacBook hasn't had an update. The MacBook Airs haven't had an update, and I think the problem with the MacBook Pros is the price. They're not. Well, not even, I was going to say, I mean, no Apple machines tend to be cheap, but even by Apple standard, the Touch Bar, MacBooks are awfully expensive.
And the plain MacBook, just the MacBook doesn't have enough ports for a lot of people.
No,
so
it's
there's no like new cheap option.
Yeah, well, there's no kind of there's no there's nothing below the MacBook Pro, which, is premium priced, and fair enough, I can accept that. But the MacBook is, to my mind, pretty expensive for what it is.
Right. There's nothing iBook like, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
When the iBook was around.
When, compared to the competition, because if you're going to
it'll be interesting to see if this turns around, if there's the supposed rumored October event.
Well, yes.
With new Macs coming. So it'll be interesting to see if this is like pent up demand and all of a sudden they start selling Macs like crazy, or if the number continues.
I think there is a lot of pent up demand.
I think so too. I'm waiting. I want a new computer. I need my iMac 2011, which says a lot for the iMac itself in the fact that I'm still using a 2011 computer 7 years later, and I can do almost everything I need to do. So that says a lot for the Mac itself.
There's a lot to be said for that. I mean, Macs do have an incredibly long life. I mean, mine is a 2012 MacBook Pro. Last year I got a 2017 iMac 27-inch at work, but before that I was on a 2011 machine, and even that has not been retired. It's gone down to the Studio Junior, which jumped him up from something that was like 2006 or something. So they have an incredibly long working life, which is good. But at the minute, I just think the what you'd call the sort of sub $1,200 range, you go and look at them and think, well, these machines are 3-4 years old. They just don't stack up against the sort of things, like is it HP you do the Spectre, and the Dell, is it Dell XPS 13? I mean, there are some, and these are not, I'm not talking about super cheapos here. I mean, they're in the sort of $1,000 bracket, those machines. So they are, they are pitched as MacBook Pro competitors. And they've got machines with new processors and better GPUs and all the rest. So I think there is a lot of pent up demand, and if we get an Apple event and see some decent Macs, I mean, be it the MacBook. The MacBook at the minute is a strange model in that it's not really a budget model. It's
right. You get less for more. Yeah,
which of course was when the Air first launched. I mean, the first edition of the Air was a premium machine, cost a lot of money, and relatively speaking was pretty underpowered. But it was a premium machine because it was thin and light, and then over time the Air kind of became the budget MacBook. So I don't know, but
the current MacBook doesn't. It just seems to be sitting there. They haven't done much with it to move it forward or make it the budget machine.
It's not exactly.
Whatever.
It's not been.
It hasn't found its spot, really.
It hasn't been updated and then pitched as a budget machine. It hasn't been spec'd up and, and I'm pretty sure the Airs are only hanging on in there to provide a sub $1,000 start point. And lovely machines though they were, who really wants to be buying a machine that's effectively 4 years old when you take it out of the box? It's just, there we are. There we go. So hopefully, of course, so then that does, of course, segue us quite nicely, as you mentioned, into the will there or will there not be an October event? Time is running out, Donny, really. I mean, they normally send out invitations, a week before?
Something like that.
About a week, I think. And we're on the 14th now. So basically, before the next show, I would say...
there should be an invitation. You should be getting your invitation.
Oh, yeah. Damn. It's lost in the post, I reckon. If they don't come out before... Well, I don't know. What next would be the 21st? No, they could go later than that if they were going to pitch. Some people are saying... I've seen some people saying that they could go for the 30th of October because...
Right, somewhere saying they don't think they're going to have an event when the around the time the XR is supposed to come out.
That is the thing, because often, I mean, normally the October event will fall around, sort of now, the sort of 15th, 16th through to about the 25th. But yes, I've seen speculation that if they're having one, they might push it back to the end of the month, so as to not...
Although you would think, I mean, if they did it before the XR, it's another not that they need it, but another chance to push the XR.
Yeah,
As like a brief mention. Oh, by the way.
Yeah, don't forget. Yeah, well, they're pretty much too late for that now. I mean, they've got to be pitching for the. If there's going to be one, I reckon it's going to have to be between about the 20. What? And they usually only like to do Wednesdays. Is it they do?
I think Tuesdays and Wednesdays.
Tuesdays or Wednesdays. They don't like Thursdays and Fridays. That's for sure. So who knows what we got? The 30th, and that would be sort of the 23rd. Yeah. Okay. I
can't imagine they would wait to release a new iPad until March. Like put it off unless something's wrong with it.
No, I can't see that. No, I'm with you. I could see them releasing a spec bumped iPad without bothering to have any sort of. But the rumblings around the iPads are that it's a full blown refresh with a new body shell, possibly a magnetic connector, and a whole load of things like that. So I don't think I've ever known Apple to bring out a fully refreshed product without having given it stage time. Personally.
Right, and if the rumors are right, like what this article says, a new Apple Pencil, and it's stuff they want to show off. It's not. Yeah,
exactly. It's not just
stuff they want to release in a press. I could see like the Mac's getting a bump, even if it's a new Mac Mini, unless it's a totally new form factor. If it's just like a refreshed inside, that could be a press release. But the iPad they want to talk about.
But I would say, for what my humble opinion is worth, that if I was Apple and I finally decided that we better do something about the Mini, I think I would want to trumpet it and to sort of go hell for leather as well, not just update it as a budget box, but I don't know, do something swish with it and come out and go, for those of you who are on a budget or don't want an all-in-one or whatever, I don't know, and just pitch the hell out of it. But who knows? Apple do odd things, don't they? And talking then, all right, that leads us nicely on to the iPad Pro. 9 to 5 Mac had a piece talking about iPad Pro Face ID details, 4K HDR video over USB-C, AirPod-like Apple Pencil 2 pairing, and more. Update, also A12X processor. According to them, Apple is widely expected to hold an event this month. Much has been confirmed by evidence within the iOS 12.1 beta, which apparently includes references to an iPad 2018 fall device. Today's sources familiar with the development have offered additional details. And then they're talking here about, the code numbers. We'll have an Apple A12X processor. It will have an edge-to-edge display and will not feature a home button, allegedly. Unlike the iPhone, the iPad Pro will not have a notch. Although it will sport thinner bezels, the bezels will still be wide enough to accommodate a true depth camera for Face ID. Well, that's not really surprising, is it? Because, I mean, if you look at the notch on an iPhone, it's, 3-4 mil tops? The bezels on an iPad Pro, even if you went almost edge to edge, I would say it wouldn't be difficult to put a 4 mil edge on it, would it? There we go. Face ID apparently will work in landscape, but not upside down. It is not clear if the new landscape support will require a special hardware feature or if it can be made available to iPhones with a software update. Apparently, allegedly, it will have USB-C and will be able to output 4K video to external displays. There will be a new Apple Pencil and there will be a new magnetic connector. Now, obviously, 9 to 5 Mac are touting that as good as, done deal. I would attach a allegedly to all of that, of course. There we go. So yeah, I mean that does not sound like a spec bump, does it? That is not a kind of press release. We've updated the iPad Pro. That sounds very much like the sort of things that Tim Cook is going to want to brandish from the stage.
But what's interesting is they get all these detailed reports on the iPad, but we haven't seen much about. We've seen rumors of new Macs, but no details.
No,
if you think about it.
But then again, a lot of that stuff they get as they said there, they dig it. They have people like Troughton Smith and people like that who dig that kind of information out of the code in the
Right.
They dig right deep down into the guts of iOS and find I don't know, they might find also, they find things like references to screen dimensions and things like that, and then they can draw implications from that. But the Mac doesn't, the Mac OS isn't quite like that, is it?
That's true. Although people have found things in iTunes sometimes. So.
Yeah, you can find, people do find things. There we are. This one, also from 9 to 5 Mac. 9 to 5 Mac seem to have had a lot of stories this week. TSMC are to exclusively manufacture the Apple A13 chip for next year's iPhone and iPad models. This isn't a huge story, to be honest. It's the sort of thing that you or I could have predicted, to be honest, Donny.
Right.
It's really confirmation of pretty much what everybody expected. I mean, the TSMC have been making the A series chips for Apple for several years. I think it would have been a much bigger story if it was TSMC not to manufacture the A13. So really, it's just a kind of confirmation of what everybody pretty much guessed. So there we are. But that just confirms what I think most people probably already knew. It's still interesting in the fact that Apple trusting one supplier to keep them in chips. Although TSMC they're not some Mickey Mouse outfit, are they? I think they make something like 50% of the TSMC make up 50%, 56% of the global foundry market in the first half of 2018. So there we go. Next year, analysts predict that the TSMC share of the market will rise even further. There are no details in the story on what the A13 will offer. Well, I don't really care. Thank you.
Yeah.
It'll be faster and more swish and have more billion.
Probably smaller or something.
And then it'll have about the only thing that they said in the in that article actually is that the A13 will almost certainly also be a 7-nanometer chip. And actually, of course, that's probably as good a reason as any that Apple keep TSMC as their only supplier, because I'm not sure anybody else is doing 7-nanometer chips at the minute. And that's amazing, actually, because I can remember when people were talking about 50 nanometers being, can we get below 50 nanometers? Now we're down in single figures. You can't get much smaller, boys. You're going to get down to 1 electron pipes soon, which, of course, is, I suppose, the perfect chip if you have 1 electron pipelines. There we are. What about
pretty soon they won't even need a chip, it'll just run on air.
Magic. Okay. Uncle Tim apparently has visited the world's hottest startup during his trip to Beijing. A Chinese company apparently valued at something like 85 million or something. 75 billion. Sorry, billion, not million, billion. And they make apparently the success of Tutio and TikTok, short form video apps. I've no idea really. I've never heard of those. I think I might have heard of TikTok.
Yeah, I've heard of TikTok, I think.
Is that sort of are they sort of like Vine? Are they a bit like Vine was? It's sort of
I don't know. I'll look it up.
Yeah, because actually that because isn't it Snap have launched a short form video service, but not for like professionally created, not for not user generated content, but
It's a music video platform and social network.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, apparently that's a big thing. It's apparently a very big thing, and a lot of people think they're going to make a lot of money. So there we go. And Apple, CEO Tim Cook visited them. Apparently, Apple declined to comment. Well, while we're talking about video streaming, of course, Donny, what about this another rumor/story this week was all about the video streaming, wasn't it? Motley Fool have I think it was the first one I saw. It said Apple's upcoming video streaming service could possibly be free. and they were suggesting that Apple, obviously Apple is working on a video streaming service, buying up content across genres, hand over fist over a year. Tim Cook even acknowledged the service directly in August. So we all kind of pretty much, we're all pretty sure that they are doing well. I mean, we know because they've been commissioning series and so on, haven't they? I believe.
It's just very interesting that it's going to be free or not tied to Apple Music subscription or allegedly be free. I don't want to say it's going to be free, but
no. Most investors and analysts have expected Apple to make the most straightforward approach to monetization by offering the service at $10 to $15 a month, the market price for over-the-top streaming services. Over the top. Oh, well, all right, whatever you say. OTT. It's $15 a month is OTT. Thank you. Okay. However, in what would be a major plot twist, I see what you did there, Motley Fool. Apple might decide to give the service away for free. We didn't see that coming. A paid service might come later. Rather, Apple's goal might be to promote the usage of its TV and attempting to hook users on flagship content. Okay, so they're putting it forward as a possibility. However, they do reference in their article the CNBC article, who present it as a fait accompli, to be honest, which seems a little bit OTT itself too. Apple plans to give away original content for free to device owners as part of a new digital TV strategy, according to them. I think they might, well, if they do give it away free, whoop-de-doo. Fabulous.
I suppose they would sell full seasons in iTunes. Like maybe they would they could limit runs of episodes and then say, go buy them on iTunes if you want the full season or see it again or something like that.
What's it say here? Apple has long struggled to reach deals with large media companies which have been hesitant to hand over direct consumer relationships to the tech giant. The collapse of the music industry. Really? I don't see too many poor music industry executives, do you, Donny? My heart breaks for them.
I think it's still the music industry is still around. Is last time I checked.
Yeah, exactly. What they mean by that is the music industry executives are crying because they don't get to keep all of the money for themselves anymore. Who knows? Well, they've got quite a long piece here, but they're saying Apple are going to give away $1 billion worth of content. I think that's very much a case of we'll have to see what happens. It would be good, or they could go down the Apple Music route, couldn't they? They could be doing the Apple Music route where they pretty much said, you can have it for free for 3 months or 6 months or something to start with, and then once they've got everybody watching it and hooked on whatever series they've got, then say, right, well, your 6 months is up now, we're going to charge you X amount a month.
Or it could follow similar way of, okay, you can subscribe and get all you can eat, or you can buy the series you want and pay $2 an episode. Yeah,
they could also do that, couldn't they? That is true. They could run it on an iTunes type mode where you can subscribe Apple Music style, or you can just purchase the tracks for yourself. So that's one to watch, I think. And
here's another theory.
Right.
If let's assume these shows are amazing and must watch, like some of the other Netflix produced shows or Amazon shows that people talk about. It could sell more Apple TVs if it was free, which I'm sure they wouldn't complain about.
I'm sure they wouldn't. But the implication, both in CNBC and the Motley Fool articles, seems to be that they're pitching it very much towards iOS devices. So, but what if they're going to give it away for free? They're simply going to be like, well, as long as you've got an Apple device, you can watch it, I suppose.
Right.
That would be a good way. Again, would be a good way to lure people in. That's for sure. Because the story that goes with that, isn't it, is the fact that it's been alleged that Apple want to take a rather Disney-esque approach to their content, ruling out, violence, profanity, sex. I'm neither for or against that, to be honest. I think
Apple has a right to produce what they want to produce.
Exactly.
Either way,
they can produce it however they like, and if it's their service, if they want to take the a more Disney, if you will, version, there's plenty of room. I mean, obviously Netflix and Amazon, some of their shows that have become the must watch series became so because they're a bit more edgy, and people, unlike the traditional studios, Netflix and Amazon could afford to, be a bit more out on the edge and have shows that, were more graphically violent or adult or whatever. But, those things don't necessarily make a show great, do they? Some shows I think benefit from it. I mean, I think most people would say that the Game of Thrones, well, I'm pretty sure it started out with quite a lot of nudity in it as a hook to get people's attention. But it also had quite a lot of fairly gruesome violence. But that's a fantastic series in and of its own right. And I just think storytelling and good quality production and so on, can make a fabulous show. And it doesn't, I mean, let's face it, Doctor Who is a fabulous show, in my opinion, and that doesn't have, violence, profanity, or nudity of any type. So, they're not. Some people are kind of putting it forward as if it's going to be like, they're hobbling themselves by doing that. And I'm not sure that that's true either. I don't know. Again, it's a wait and see.
Right. Time will tell.
Time will tell. I'm sure if Apple have got plenty of money to throw at it, and if they want to, as long as they can produce good quality content, people will consume it. Build it and they will come. That's just it, isn't it? If the content's any good, people will watch it, and if it's not any good, it will fall flat on its face. There we are. And for the end of the Apple stories, Donny, we've got a man. I think you put this one in the stories, didn't you? Man wearing Apple Maps backpack surveying San Francisco on foot. So, did you want to tell us about that one then?
Someone took a picture of someone on the streets wearing essentially a backpack with, I guess it's GPS mapping, whatever they use to map.
Yeah, I can see
Apple Maps kind of sticking out of the backpack, kind of like a giant antenna or robot type thing.
Yeah, I can see that. He's got like a load of cameras, and I guess that those angled things are probably the 360 degree recorders.
Right.
Yeah,
I assume they're using people on the streets to kind of get more accurate maps going.
Or they're looking for street view type info.
Or maybe like hidden alleyways or things people could walk on, or
yes, it could
and stuff like that.
It could be that they're looking for more pedestrian based information.
I just found it interesting that it actually says Apple Maps, maps.apple.com on the back of the backpack.
Yes.
Like they're not being secretive about it, or
no, but then they're not particularly secretive about their little cars that they have going around either, are they?
Right.
Their cars have an Apple logo on them. So there we go. Oh yeah, data gathered on foot.
If you think about it, it's pretty amazing he can carry something like that on his backpack now.
Yeah.
It's shrunk like that small that you can just walk around the streets with a...
Yep, yeah. I mean, yes. I mean, when Google started doing it, you needed a car, didn't you? Because it had a thing on the top like a, like
a whole giant rig.
Yeah, a whole giant rig with, the LiDAR and the 360-degree cameras and all that. Data gathered on foot will likely be used to improve pedestrian directions in major cities. Oh, well, okay, yeah, well, that makes sense. Apple has also deployed new Subaru Impreza mapping vehicles spotted with new LiDAR equipment earlier in the week, apparently. Well, there you go. I have to say, I'm not a huge user of Apple Maps, but despite all the jokes that are still made at its expense, as far as I can tell, there's not really anything terribly wrong with Apple Maps. I
use it daily. Not in my car with CarPlay.
Yeah,
it works for me. I know people complain about it, but it's pretty accurate for me for what I need.
Seems to be reasonably okay here in the UK. I know in the Slack room, Alistair pointed out a couple of times where Apple had apparently marked new highways as open when they're not actually due to open for another 2 years. Apparently, they were directing people to non-existent multi-lane highways. But
I don't remember if this was Apple Maps or Google Maps several years ago. Might have been Google Maps, but we were in New Jersey trying to find a restaurant, and we followed step by step, pulled up, it said you're at your destination, and nothing was there.
Yeah, well, there we go. Right, I'll tell you what, Donny, I'm going to refresh my cup of tea while we go over to John in the hardware store.
Okay.
And John has a slew of products, I believe, he wants to talk about today. So take it away, John.
Nemo's hardware store is back with 3 innovative items. The first one is called the Cable Wrangler. CableWrangler. Cable Wrangler Magnetic Cord Organizer. Cost is $20 in the U.S. The website is Silk Smartish. SilkSmartish. Because the company is called Silk. SilkSmartish.com. We will have the links for this product and the other ones that we are exploring today in our show notes for this episode. The Cable Wrangler comes in white or gray. It is a magnet. You set your cables on at the tips of the cables like your iPhone Lightning cable, and because it's magnetized, it keeps the cable in place. That's it. It's a very steady, sturdy, small but hefty and massive cable magnet. It's attractive with a fabric cover. You can buy it with the excellent 6-foot Lightning cable. That adds $10, and it's a very nice cable. That takes up to $30 US. And if you want a really nice 2-port wall charger, that takes it to $40 US. So have a look at the website silksmartish.com with the links in our show notes. And I'm using this right now to keep several of my cables in place on top of my dresser because they were all over the place and it was causing some consternation with Mrs. Nemo, the curator of the hardware store style section. This is one of these items you think, I'm never going to use this thing. It's too heavy. It's too cumbersome. It's too expensive. Well, take it from me. It is great, and you will be glad to have it. You'll be giving them out as gifts like crazy. Next comes a product available in black or white from our friends at RapidX. Website is rapidx, rapidx.io. We had the X5 car charger recently. Now we have the X4 Home Super Compact 4-port charger with Type-C fast charging for the home or office. Black or white, $40 US. Let's take it out of the box. Comes with a very basic handout because you don't need to know much of anything. You plug it into the wall, have a nice long 6-foot cable, 3 USB ports, regular flat basic USB ports, and 1 USB-C port for charging the newer generation of devices. It's not full powered enough to charge your MacBook Pro, but it will charge other USB-C devices, of which we hear a rumor there will be plenty coming from Apple and other vendors very soon. That is it. There's also a bracket that comes with it to help you mount it. $40 to be able to charge 2 different categories of USB. The USB-C 1 port and the regular USB-A flat port times 3. I like the white one we got. Quite attractive and stylish. That's the X4 multi-purpose charging station for home and office. The final item is the QB, QUBII. It's QUBII, auto backup while charging. Has nothing to do with your auto. It's definitely a completely innovative device. 30-day money-back guarantee, $50 in the U.S., auto backup while charging your iPhone. The website is maktar.com. In the U.S., it's us.maktar.com. Simon will find the links for UK and international. This is one of these items I wish it had been available when I got my first iPhone, because it is so straightforward. The QB itself is a little white plug that looks almost identical to the white plug that you use to plug into the wall to charge your iPhone. You plug your lightning cable, the USB end, into the QB. Then that goes into the USB port on the AC power plug, the square white one from Apple. Then that goes into the wall. Then you get an SD micro, the really, really small one. Plug that into the QB, download the free app, go through a couple of steps that are very obvious. It's a very seamless, easy-to-use app, and you will be able to back up your pictures and your contacts onto the micro SD card that then can be put into other devices, or you can put it into an SD card adapter, plug that into an SD card slot, such as on your computer, and you can have access to all of your iPhone pictures on your computer just like that. You don't need to have a Dropbox subscription, don't need to worry about iCloud photo library if you don't want to. This is completely versatile, amazingly easy, one-trick device that does it very well. I am backing up the updated collection of my photos. Let's see where I'm up to. I've got 200 to go, so that'll be a couple of minutes. And again, it comes with a small pamphlet, including a QR code to scan for the QB app. But I got the app right from the App Store. Just by looking for it, tells you exactly what you need to do. Very, very straightforward. Once again, we've got a magnetic cable wrangler, which keeps your cable tips in place. We've got a USB AC power unit with a nice long cable, and the QB. Those websites, again, are silksmartish.com, rapidx.io, and us.maktar, maktar.com. And once again, Simon will find out if there's a different URL for UK and international. So as soon as my backup is done, I'm going to go out and take some more pictures and make sure my cables are secure and I'm charging them using the RapidX. Back next week.
Thank you, John. And as ever, all the links will be in the show notes. I will just say, of course, don't forget that there is still a 30% discount on Take Control books, courtesy of Joe Kissell. The link is in the show notes, or you can use the code EssentialApple at checkout. And that's good for 30% off any purchase until the 30th of November. Thanks, Joe. We appreciate that. Okay, right, Donny. Where shall we go? Shall we have a look at some technology stories? Because there's quite a lot of security stories, but they get a bit depressing week after week. So, yeah, shall we, where do you want to kick off?
Let's start with the charger, the first totally wireless charger.
Okay, yes, let's have a look at that. And this is, I note, a Kickstarter rather than a 100% available now product. This is the sort of thing, right, that I have kind of had in mind for years. Now, we know people have talked about this. We know people have demonstrated things. I really like the concept of this. This is really what I've always wanted, but it's a Kickstarter, and I have a few doubts about it, I'll be honest. But do you want to sort of read the general gist?
Sure, I'm actually on the Kickstarter page right now, and it's essentially wireless charging without having to put your phone or device on a charger. It happens when you're, in this case, within 5 meters of the, I guess you call it charging base or charging pad.
Yeah, they refer to it as the charge cube, I believe.
So basically, if you have your phone in your pocket and you're sitting on your sofa and you have this pad within 5 meters, it would be charging while it's sitting in your pocket or putting it wherever. You don't have to necessarily put it on a charging base.
Yeah, that is the that is the general thing, isn't it? I mean, I read it here. It said the NIC charger is set to be the world's first totally wireless charger, which can charge most of the portable devices wirelessly without the need to connect any cable. The company has recently unveiled their prototype and are hopeful that with the right funds from Kickstarter, the company should have a fully functional product in the market very soon. English is obviously not their first language, because if I read this statement, you'll figure out. We knew that electricity without wires is a concept which a lot of people have been working on for too long. This is the world first truly wireless charger in the world. This will be a game-changing in the world of portable devices. As we developed our prototype, we are excited and hopeful that our wireless charger will become the next big thing that shall have everyone talking. Fair enough. I'm not going to mock him for, if English isn't his first language, that's not my problem. Experts believe the NIC charge is one of the most attractive concepts of recent times. Okay. Now,
well, I'm just looking at the Kickstarter page.
Okay, yeah.
They have $2,623 of their 30,000 plus goal with 5 days to go. So I don't think it's gonna.
Yeah, I'm gonna say my problem. Now I come to my problem with it. The wireless charger consists of two parts: the NIC charging cube, which is commented to a power outlet, according to this page, connected, and the NIC charging pad, which can be permanently connected to the portable device. Now, there's a picture of the, this charging pad, which looks basically, I don't know if you've seen them. You can, if you have an older phone which doesn't have Qi charging, you can buy a Qi charging pad, which is just like the size of a credit card, and it has an induction coil on it. So, the charging sort of thing for the phone, which they're showing, basically just looks like one of those. It's like a credit card thing with a coil on it and a lightning plug on a thin strip. The idea usually then is you plug it into the lightning, don't you? Wrap it around the back of the phone and put it inside the case. I've seen Qi chargers like that. My biggest problem with this at the moment is the mention of 5 meters. 5 meters is a long way. And the closest I've seen to any actual, beamed power was the one that I think was at CEX, where they were talking about maybe being able to charge a foot away, and where they were saying, like, you could, if that was built into the bottom of your computer monitor, or, along the base of an iMac or something, you could keep your mouse and keyboard probably powered, because they would be within, a foot probably. I've seen ones where similarly they were talking about if a TV was built with, with one in the bottom, it might be able to power your sound bar without you having to, have a load of wires to your sound bar. There was talk of the people were talking about the concept of maybe being able to get up to sort of a couple of meters. But 5 meters, that just seems. Now, maybe they've cracked it. Maybe they have done it. I don't know. But my biggest concern with this is it just seems too wonderful for, all of a sudden. People have been struggling with this for years and years. Power over the air is a sci-fi concept since forever. And how much would we all love to be able to, effectively have our phones or watches or whatever trickle charging just by being in the room? I'd love that. Brilliant. That's totally the concept I want. But this just seems almost, too good. It sounds too good to be true. And we all know what they say about that, don't we?
Well, and I seem to remember, I don't know where I heard or read this, but concern over just health concerns over having wireless charging happening. In a person, in like your presence or something. I don't remember the details, but
some people obviously, some people, don't like the idea of being cooked in, whatever energy is being beamed around. I am personally of the opinion that we're all basically soaked in RF, all the time. We have been for about the last, ever since Marconi invented the wireless, most of us have been, soaked in RF. The air is full of RF of all kinds. So I'm not personally particularly concerned about that. Although, I'm not saying that's not a valid concern. They've got videos here. I've gone to their Kickstarter page. Yes, you can see it there. He's got the tag. He's putting it on the back of the phone and putting a case over it. See, there's that picture of him fighting with the power cables. That is me. I hate cables. I hate cables. I really, really hate cables. I don't care, actually, if it shortens my life by 10 years by being pickled in electronic radiation. I don't care. Right, just free me from the cables.
I think you should call it. That should be the name of the episode. I hate cables.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. I I love the idea. I've loved the idea, the whole concept since I was a kid, and ever since since I started having mobile phones and watches but this just seems too good to be true, to be honest, to be springing up on some Kickstarter company. That is my problem with it.
Maybe Apple will buy them and turn it into something real.
Yeah,
crazy.
if it's yeah, exactly. The NIC charging system shipping will vary from $15 to $25. I don't know. I mean, allegedly look kosher. I don't know. I just
Look, anybody can make a Kickstarter campaign and make it look really good, but in the end, it's whether
can you
they
actually
pull it off and go through with it. So
yeah. So I love the idea, Donny. I really do. It's like if please be true. Please, somebody do it, and I'll be the first person signing up to plug all my devices in. But my concern there is that big companies, with a lot of experience in this field, are still only talking about maybe being able to power a mouse, within a foot of a charging transmitter.
look, Apple can't even pull off their own charging mat. So
no. Yeah, I've got a bit ambitious themselves there, I believe. So, yeah, okay. Well, that's that one. I'm not going to poo-poo it because maybe they've solved it, and if they have, hooray! I will be the happiest man in the world. What else then? The internet of terribly troublesome, insecure things, boys. According to the New York Times, a future where everything becomes a computer is as creepy as you feared. Yes, see, I told you so. Waggy finger. Oh, well, if it deems to load for me, boys. Right. Okay.
well, it says here. It says I'm reading part of the article. It says it talks about how Bill Gates and Paul Allen founded Microsoft with the vision of putting a computer on every desk, but now the industry's new goal is to have a computer inside of everything.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, nobody believed them, so nobody tried to stop them. Before anyone realised it, the deed was done, and everyone had a Windows machine. And governments were left scrambling to figure out how to put Microsoft's monopoly back in the bottle. Yeah, this sort of thing happens over and over in the tech industry. Audacious founders set their sights on something hilariously out of reach. Mark Zuckerberg wants to connect everyone, and the very unlikeliness of their plan insulates them from scrutiny. By the time the rest of us catch up, it's too late to do much about it. And it is happening again now. In recent years, the tech industry's largest powers have set their sights on a new target of digital conquest. Wild conveniences and unimaginable benefits to our health and happiness. There's just one catch which goes unstated. If their novelties take off without any intervention or supervision, we could be inviting a nightmarish set of security and privacy vulnerabilities into the world, and no one is doing anything to stop it. Yeah, so there we go. Amazon showed off a microwave powered by Alexa. Facebook and Google unveiled their own home hub devices that let you watch videos and perform digital tricks by voice. Oh, well, yeah. The Facebook portal. Oh, yes, I must have one of those. Not. Yeah, right. I can't wait to not order one of those. I don't have an Alexa. I do not have a.
I don't either.
I don't have any of those things. I am a Facebook refusenik.
I think the other day I saw a commercial. I think it was for a Samsung refrigerator.
Right.
And about half of the door, it looked like a giant iPhone, and it had the display and the apps and everything. I'm like, why do you need that? Like,
what? Okay. So the New York thing, it goes here. Right. I'm not pessimistic generally, but it's hard not to be, said Bruce Schneier, I think, a security consultant who explores the threats posed by the Internet of Things in his new book, Click Here to Kill Everybody. Well, and then it goes on some more. It's quite a long article. It was quite a good read, actually. For example, the FBI had to warn parents last year about the dangers of smart toys. Just because they're not secured, are they? California obviously introduced a law to try and make them a bit more secure. Yeah, I kind of I kind of agree with this, really. not everything, making everything smarter is not necessarily a smart thing to do. Here we go. Cars, door locks, contact lenses, clothes, toasters, refrigerators, robots, fish tanks, sex toys, light bulbs, toothbrushes, motorcycle helmets, all on the menu to get smart. Yeah, okay. Most of those I think I'd pass on, to be honest. There we are.
I can see the motorcycle helmet.
Well, I don't know. Depends about what smartness does a motorcycle helmet need. Is it going to tell you how hard you hit the floor?
I'm thinking more like heads-up display in the.
Yeah. Joking aside, some things, can be improved with smart technology. And actually, if you read it, he's not saying that smart technology is in and of itself a bad thing. What they're all on about, sort of crossing over into the security field, isn't it? Is that most of these things are just so poorly secured, if at all. And everything that you connect to your network, which is smart, but is another attack vector. It's another way in. Do you really want, to have your bank account emptied because somebody hacked your fridge? There we go. No. I'm quite capable of opening my fridge and seeing if I need milk. To be honest, I don't need my fridge to tell me to order milk. There we are.
Now, if your fridge could make the milk for you, and you don't have to go to the store, that'd be another story.
Yeah. I mean,
but then we're getting into Star Trek and everything.
Yeah. Well, I mean, people have always touted the thing of, for example, your fridge can. Yeah, your fridge could see that you're about to run out of milk or your milk is about to go out of date, and it could say, throw this milk away. I have ordered more milk, from Amazon fresh delivery or whatever, and it will be arriving at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. That's all. But, really, are we really so feeble that we can't manage these things? Pocket plans to turn your never-ending news reading list into a podcast. Did Mac Jim post this originally? I can't remember.
I don't know.
Right, yeah. If you haven't noticed, basically Pocket, who are a save and read for later service, similar to Instapaper, is it? Now I know that Mac Jim changed over to Pocket because Instapaper stopped supporting the EU, and I think he's been quite happy with Pocket. And as he said, Instapaper shot themselves in the foot there. Pocket was previously known as Read It Later. Oh, I didn't know that. Right. Aesthetically, Pocket has refreshed its layout to make it less cluttered and more tuned to the reader's interest based on what they have saved. Includes they have new dark and sepia themes and updated fonts. Okay. For mobile users on iOS and Android, Pocket have added a more human-sounding voice with the ability to play through a reading list hands-free. Users can access the feature by tapping a new listen icon in the top left corner. Okay. Describing the new vocal reading list as your own personal podcast. Our lives didn't always have a quiet moment with a coffee cup in hand, with Pocket in the other. Excuse me. We have work to do, kids to take care of, schools to attend. Our new listen feature frees the content you've saved to fit into your busy life. It enables you to absorb articles whenever and wherever, whether driving, walking, working out, cooking, or on the train. Okay. So, I mean, I know, for example, you can get Siri to read articles to you, and so on and so forth. But I believe, not in this Fortune article, but somewhere else, they were talking about how they've tuned the voice for Pocket's reading feature to be more human, to pause, to understand punctuation better, and so on. I haven't tried it, but I might give it a go. Might be worth a try. But interesting and ambitious, I guess.
Well, it's nice to see I use Pocket all the time just to save articles that I might use in teaching, like projects and stuff I might do. But I'm always worried that Pocket's going to disappear because I have so many items in that list. But it's nice to see that they're moving it forward and trying to grow, I guess, with the
yeah. What did I just see?
What's happening around?
Okay. I just saw something in here. Pocket. Okay, here. This will probably cheer you up then, Donny. Following a previous flirtation with the now beleaguered note-taking app Evernote, Pocket was acquired by Mozilla in February 2017. And obviously, if it belongs to Mozilla, there's a good chance it will be going for a long time to come, because Mozilla tend not to drop projects on the whole. And talking of Mozilla, I will just mention, if you're a Thunderbird user, which I am, Thunderbird 60.2.1 was released with a load of security enhancements. But I noticed for some reason I had version 59, and normally Thunderbird it will self-update. It will just tell you that there's an update available, and just click here. And it didn't. I noticed the announcement of version 60. I don't know where, Twitter or an RSS feed or something. And I had to download it manually and install it. So if you are a Thunderbird user, check your version number, and you may need to manually download the latest version. You can tell, by the way, if you've got the new version, because it's got a new icon, and a new, flatter, more modern version of the Thunderbird, rather than the older, sort of more realistic rendering of 3D rendering of a bird. There we are. So Pocket belongs to Mozilla. That's good. So you're fairly safe there, Donny.
For now.
Well, as I say, probably forever, as long as they don't decide to sell it off. What else have we got? Well, I suppose we should mention our friends at Skylum, Luminar, have announced a new unique feature for Luminar, a surprise update and a whole load more. That's on their blog. They've also said that the libraries with digital asset management for Luminar will be coming, I believe Alex said, in November. And Alex has said that he will come on the show, by the way, at the start of December, and tell us all about the new apps. A few weeks ago, we revealed a few key details about upcoming Luminar libraries. A big part of our plan is to make all the new features available for free to all Luminar 2018 users, and not to force you to buy an upgrade or extend your subscription. And the surprise new feature is the AI Lab team have been working on a tool to automate sky enhancements. And if you go to the blog, the Skylum blog, they've got some of their classic, slidey toys that they show you, the before and after, where you can slide the slider across the picture. So, yes, that's very good. And unfortunately, this podcast probably won't go out before it ends. But there's also an offer on from, 5daydeals.com, I think. They are offering a complete photography bundle which contains Luminar, Photo Lima, and 35 other photo tools, and it's 97% off. I think it's $90, reduced from a list price of $2,500. So, but it's only on for another 2 days. So I'll have to try and get this show out super pronto, won't I? There. What else? We've got a couple of Microsoft stories here, actually. Of course, Microsoft had that unfortunate bug in their autumn update, which they had to pull, where it was deleting people's document folder. Very, very bad indeed. We have Forbes here. How Microsoft plans to avoid nasty Windows 10 update bugs in the future. And what this basically boils down to is, yes, the Windows insiders had been pointing out to Microsoft for some time that there was a problem with its update, and it had a tendency to delete people's data. But somehow or other, nobody was paying much attention. So now, when you send a problem report to Microsoft as a Windows insider, you're going to be able to rate it as from mild to severe in importance, and hopefully this will make the people at Microsoft pay attention. Not quite sure how that's not happened. That's not great, is it? That doesn't inspire a great deal of faith.
If someone's reading these bugs coming in, you think someone would have flagged it as being maybe something we should look at.
Yeah, all right, great. So now if you report a problem to Microsoft as an insider, you'll be able to flag it as a severe problem. But I kind of can't understand how, if you've got a beta feedback program and people are sending in reports saying it deleted my data folder, that nobody picked up on that, and then they allowed it to go out. That's a biggie, and they let it go out the door. Not good. Right, from brickbats to plaudits, as it were, Microsoft has joined the Open Invention Network to help protect Linux and open source. This was on the Microsoft Azure blog. What a change from a few years ago, hey? The corporate vice president and deputy general counsel, Eric Anderson, Anderson, I'm pleased to announce that Microsoft is joining the Open Invention Network, a community dedicated to protecting Linux and other open source products from patent risks. We know the decision to join may be viewed as surprising to some, and it is no secret there has been friction in the past between Microsoft and the open source community. Well, that's putting it mildly, isn't it? Didn't Steve Ballmer refer to Linux and the open source community as a cancer, and he was going to destroy them? There we go. So, how things have changed. There we go. As we join OIN, we believe Microsoft will be able to do more than ever to help protect Linux and other important open source workloads from patent assertions. We bring a valuable and deep portfolio of 60,000 issued patents, and we hope our decision to join will attract many other companies to join OIN as well, making the licensed network stronger for the benefit of open source community. Quite interesting, really, that over the last few years, Microsoft have actually become quite big players in the open source field. I don't think many people are aware just how much Microsoft actually contribute to open source. But there we go. That's a slightly surprising story for many, I think. Here we are. This isn't really much of one, I'll be honest, but Wi-Fi has switched from obscure protocol names to simple generation numbers, and this was from Titbits. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but basically forget 802.11ax or N or AC or ACFX or anything else. The current standard, which is 802.11ac, will become Wi-Fi 5. The next standard, which is going to be 802.11ax, will be renamed Wi-Fi 6. This change is purely cosmetic and will not affect the certification process or the industry standard group's work. The Wi-Fi Alliance wants operating system interfaces to modify their string indicators to incorporate a generational number, which will show the active connection type.
It's not a bad thing. I mean,
no.
Most people, Joe Public, they don't know what's in their house anyway. They need a new router, they'll go buy the latest one. But if you know enough to say, okay, 6 is newer than 5.
Yeah. Here we go. What did they basically said? In the early days of 802.11a and 802.11b, which were both approved in 1999, the standards included the combination of wireless encoding, security and network interactions. The Wi-Fi Alliance has mostly focused on the standards which relate to improvements in bandwidth, 11G, 11N, 11AC and 11AX.
If they started with A and went to B, they just would have gone down the alphabet. They wouldn't have had to do this to start with.
No, I know. They went, they went A, B, G, N. I don't know how these things would generate. Why didn't they just go A, B, C, D, E, F? I don't know.
Exactly. They have 26.
They would have had 26 generations, and then they could have gone A, B, AC,
right,
or whatever. Or AA, BB, whatever.
Could have avoided this whole mess to begin with.
Yep. Anyway, so now they're going
to Apple with XR and XS and
they're going to be renamed with generational numbers. So there we go. And as the guy says here, I will be able to say next time somebody asks me what a Wi-Fi router they should buy, I will look forward to be able to say look for Wi-Fi 6 on the box. There we go. So that's probably a sensible move.
I wonder how long it's going to take for boxes to even switch over. I bet you it'll take at least a year for. Companies have to reprint and. Oh
yeah, but I guess if that if that kind of starts to take hold, what you'll normally find, isn't it, is that manufacturers or even sometimes retailers will find it in their, to their advantage to simply produce a sticker.
Right, slap a sticker on it.
Slap a sticker on it saying Wi-Fi 6. They might not bother with older machines, but as, AX starts to roll out, they're probably, either slap a sticker on it saying Wi-Fi 6 or, newer products come out, name it Wi-Fi 6.
There's another show named Slap a Sticker on It.
Slap a sticker on it. Yes. Apple's competitors are increasingly building hardware to lock users into software. This was from John Martellaro over at the Mac Observer. And he's talking here, about very much how, Google and Microsoft and other, Amazon to some extent, are creating their own hardware as a way to lock people into their ecosystem. In fact, some ways I'm surprised that more companies haven't, Microsoft didn't do that years ago. It took them a long time, apparently, to twig that the best way to get the best out of Windows was to build their own hardware. There we are. Right, we've been going for quite a while, Donny, so...
Should I talk about my quick Amazon PSA?
Yes, let's talk about your Amazon, and then we'll just skim over a few others, I think, and then we'll call it a day.
So sometime last week, I woke up in the morning, and at 2 a.m., I had an email from Amazon saying, "Here's your code." Oh, geez, my brain's drawn a blank.
The 2FA, two-factor authenticator.
The two-factor code to get into your account. And I was asleep at 2 a.m. in the morning, and so I kind of thought of someone's trying to break into my account or trying to make a purchase. And thankfully, I had two-factor turned on, or else someone probably could have gotten to my account and started spending and buying like crazy. So if you don't have two-factor turned on for Amazon or iCloud or forever where it's available, I highly suggest it because it saved me a huge headache.
Yep. Two-factor authentication is very, very good, and you should use it wherever you can. There are people who are suggesting, and probably rightly, that SMS is in fact not the best route to go for two-factor authentication because the SMS system itself is not secure. But it's better than nothing. Any two-factor authentication is better than nothing. If you don't want to rely on SMS, obviously there are apps out there, authenticator type apps. There's the Google Authenticator. Microsoft do an authenticator. There's another one, Authly, I think it's called. You can use. Those are the things where you enter your key, and that encrypted key is used to generate numbers every 30 seconds. Are you familiar with those, Donny?
No, I haven't heard of that.
Okay, well, they work by, when you set them up, you create an account and enter your details. And that's used to generate a key. And then that key is a seed to generate usually a 6-digit number, like every 30 seconds or so. And so for example, if I want to log into my Microsoft account on a machine where it's not already authenticated, it will, say enter your login, and you log in, and then it will, if it's somewhere I've not logged in before, it will say, you need to do, will need to do the two-factor authentication, and then it will say like we can send a number by text to your phone number, or you can use the Microsoft Authenticator, or and what you do then is you open the app and it will show you a number, and you type that number in. You've got like 30 seconds to do it. The number will usually go red or start flashing as it's about to expire. You enter that number, and that that is the verified, and then you're in. Those can be quite good. And of course, if you're more paranoid than that, then you should be looking at a YubiKey or another hardware authenticator key. But yes, use two-factor everywhere you can. Really, very much so, Donny. Very much so indeed. What else? Just to skim over a few of these. In relationship that to some extent, One Password for Mac disables auto submit feature as Mac OS Mojave boosts security. This is not a bad story. It sounds on the surface at first like, they're doing, taking away a feature, but 1Password has disabled auto-submission of passwords. The company says the move has been forced on it by increased security measures in Mac OS Mojave, but it agrees with the decision Apple has taken. Earlier versions of 1Password could submit login details fully automatically, so you could be briefly presented with a login screen on a website and logged in without doing anything. This is because 1Password would enter your password and transmit a carriage return. Mac OS Mojave has placed significant restrictions on the ability of apps to virtually press the return key. Quite right. Meaning 1Password can no longer do this. Reflecting, 1Password has removed the auto submission feature on all versions of Mac OS. 1Password will automatically leave focus on the password field. There is no need to click the submit button. Just press the enter key and you're all set. Along with the command /fill keyboard shortcut, it works well. So there we go. When 1Password automatically submits a password, it has no way of knowing whether it is filling in a password on a legitimate field or something created by a nefarious website. If a password is automatically submitted, users are not given the opportunity to say no to submitting the form. We feel that removing the ability to automatically submit passwords is the right thing to do and protects a user's experience but also their security. I will be fully transparent. It's taken some getting used to, but now that it's part of my workflow, I don't miss it. So there we go.
I've been using 1Password for years. Didn't even know that was a feature. So
no, I should think you probably have to turn it on. I would have thought. To be honest, I'm surprised that 1Password even actually ever had such a feature. I would have thought that they would consider that to be unsafe. But anyway, Apple have considered it to be an unsafe practice, and now 1Password have removed it. So good for them. Good for them. That's good news for everybody who uses 1Password, I'm sure. Right. Well, Andy Yen was on his soapbox again. Weakening encryption will only leave us all less secure. There's a link to that. That was in the CPO magazine. I totally agree with pretty much everything Andy Yen says. So there we go. Apple and various others, Apple and Amazon, I believe, and probably Google and various others, of course, are engaged in lobbying Australia over their proposed it's not actually an anti-encryption bill, but it actually is, as it were. So, Apple to Australia, this is no time to weaken encryption. Apple has rebuked Australia's dangerously ambiguous anti-encryption bill, and Apple fires back at the Australian encryption bill. All three articles there. And Brian Krebs on security. The supply chain, this of course really relates to the Bloomberg thing. Supply chain security is the whole enchilada, but who is going to pay for it? That was quite an interesting read. And as he says, from time to time there emerge cybersecurity stories of such potential impact that they have the effect of making all other security concerns seem minuscule and trifling by comparison. And then, of course, he's talking about the Bloomberg. As he says, everybody has categorically denied the claims in the Bloomberg piece. Bloomberg, of course, brought out another story pointing the finger at Supermicro. But as yet again, everybody involved in that story has either denied it. The security researcher who was quoted has actually said he's unhappy with the way they've portrayed what he said, saying that what he said wasn't how they have portrayed it. There's a whole load of links. We haven't got to them, and the Bloomberg story's got a bit tired now. But I've put a whole load of links in the show notes about where that's gone. Security researcher named in the China spy chip story voices his doubts. The name source from the big hack has doubts about the story. That was an interview with him on Risky Business. New evidence of hacked Supermicro hardware found in US telecom. That was a Bloomberg story, but then Yossi Appelboom, who was, or Baum, I don't know, disagrees with how Bloomberg positioned his research on Supermicro. And the NSA has denied all the spy chip claims, and the FBI says it's not allowed to make any comment. There we go. Well, Donny, I think we've pretty much done everything, haven't we? We've been going for quite a long time, so I think we just call it a day, really.
Sounds good.
Right. Well, this is where, of course, you get to tout all your books, stickers, and all the other goodness that you do. I did notice that you're having a sale over on designbundles.net.
Yeah, I'm still filling the store, but most of the items that are there are on sale for about 30% off. I looked at the prices, and they're not really, it's a weird amount, but it's around 30% off, but it's through the end of this week, which would be October 20th, I think I set the date for.
Okay.
So I might extend that depending on when this episode comes out. So I might put another one for another week up, but it's about 30% off everything in the store, or almost everything. So I just added something yesterday that's not included in the sale.
Okie dokie. And of course you have books in the iBook store and
right.
Yeah.
iMessage stickers. I have a whole new series of Halloween, Christmas, Thanksgiving, Halloween, Hanukkah stickers, and more to come.
Excellent. Okay. So you can be found on designbundles.net, where you are Scribbly.
Right.
And that's
SKRBLY.
Yeah. And in the App Store, what's the best way to find you?
Just look up my name.
Right. So that's Donny
and
and
on Twitter, it's RTTEACHR.
Very good. Okay.
Links to everything at hedgehogalley.com. Sorry.
Oh, yes. hedgehogalley.com, indeed. Right. I, of course, am on the Twitter as @Serenak, and that's SERENAK. The show occasionally puts out tweets as Essential Apple, and all our stuff is over at essentialapple.com. Well, Donny, I think that's it. So thank you, everybody, for listening, and we'll be back next week, where I believe we have a special guest. So look forward to that. Right, time to go, I think. Goodbye, everybody.
See ya.
You've been listening to the Essential Apple podcast, and I'd like to say, if you enjoy the show and would like to support us, feel free to go over to the website essentialapple.com, and you will find links to both Patreon and the Pinecast Tips Jar, where you can make a donation towards the costs of the show, or even, if you're really keen, you could set up a recurring payment. And thank you very, very much to all the people who already do support us. We really do appreciate you very much indeed. This show is, of course, part of the My Mac podcasting network, where you can find a variety of other shows like the My Mac podcast with Guy and Gaz, the G-Men, Tech Fan with Tim and David, the Nintendo Club podcast, the geekiest show ever, the Three Geeky Ladies, Bart Bouchotts and his wonderful Let's Talk Apple, and possibly some more that I've forgotten. So why not go over to mymac.com, take a look at the available podcasts, and take a listen.
Hello and good evening. This is Gaz for the MyMac podcast. And we know you have your pick of high-quality downloadable audio content, and we appreciate that you choose ours.
Quite right, Ode Bean. This is Guy, and we're here to say that the My Mac podcast is the right choice to make. Intelligent, cultured, and downloaded by only the finest and most educated people.
Indeed. In fact, we restrict our delightful missives to only those best suited... Guy, I can't go on with this. Who are we kidding? The MyMac podcast is probably one of the most accessible shows there is.
Gaz, we're trying to up our reputation here.
Oh, shut it. Listen, folks, tired of tech podcasts that talk over your head and go on too long, taking themselves so seriously you'd think they were the ones making the product? Then you should listen to the mymac.com podcast. At least 3 good chuckles per segment.
If my math is right, that's about 10 laughs per show.
Right. Because 3 times 3 is 10. Sometimes I really wonder about you, Guy.
No need to wonder where to find the podcast. Just go to iTunes and search for MyMac, subscribe, and jump into the fun.
You know, we're part of the Stoplight Network, and there are a lot of important people there.
Well, we did say we hardly know anyone important, though there was that time I was less than 30 feet away from the Woz, and I could have sworn we made eye contact.
Most likely, he was having stomach cramps.
Yeah, that would explain why he was doubled over at the time.
The MyMac.com podcast. Enjoy it over a cuppa.
This has been the Essential Apple Podcast. Goodbye and thank you for listening.